Hello and welcome to today's LinkedIn Live. I hope you're all well from whichever part of the world you're watching. Today, I would like to talk about the wellness asset value iceberg. Last week, I talked about how wellness was an asset that had both tangible and intangible value. And I also highlighted the importance of the fact that not all wellness offerings are automatically assets. All wellness offerings have the potential to be a wellness asset, but they're not all a wellness asset from the get-go. There are things we need to do to a wellness offering in order to ensure that we have a wellness offering. Now, why does this all matter? A few weeks ago, I talked about that deep pain point we have as wellness leaders, that we feel that wellness is the most neglected department in a hotel. We know that wellness traditionally only represents 1 to 3% of total hotel revenue. So there are two ways of looking at that. That confirms that wellness is treated as an amenity. And when we feel that we're the bit player, when we feel frustrated, we act in a way that is very reactive. And the results that we actually end up having just further perpetuate that myth that wellness is not a very strong value or revenue contributor to a hotel. But instead, if we look at our wellness offering and we know that wellness has huge potential to be an asset and that it is in our hands to actually educate our hotelier colleagues on the value of wellness, then that feeling of empowerment, that feeling of motivation makes us do things that are far more strategic, and the results that we end up getting are that we create a wellness asset. We make wellness a very important contributor, both direct and indirect, tangible and intangible, to a hotel's general overall asset ecosystem. But before that, we as wellness leaders, we as specialists need to ensure that our wellness offering is an asset, and it's an asset from the get-go. And then once we have the asset in place, we are then able to explore business strategies that further enhance the quality or the value of a wellness asset. And today, that is what I want to talk about, touch upon the value iceberg. The second mistake we leaders make, and I have made it in the past, that when I felt that sheer knot of frustration, I first saw and understood that actually not all wellness offerings are an asset from the get-go, as much as it hurts my ego, but they're not assets on the get-go. And second, we have to look at the value iceberg. Sometimes we actually just sit on the tip of the iceberg. Now, I will be sharing a presentation I have created for that to get across my point about the value, the value iceberg. So if we think about creating wellness assets, it's a little bit like an iceberg. So people always ask for building spas, gyms, some in-room accessories, some wellness-oriented design features or locally sourced ingredients. We get a few visiting practitioners, or we sign strategic partnerships with other collaborators in the area. And that is a little like looking at the part of the iceberg that's above the waterline. Now, we could all go out to an iceberg and take a photo. And in reality, we all know it's only about 10% of the iceberg. The true majesty of the iceberg is actually at the base. And it doesn't matter what or how strong the wind is blowing or in what direction that wind is blowing on top of the iceberg will always move in the direction of the base, even if it's in the opposite direction to the direction of the wind at the top. And that's true when it comes to our wellness offerings. When we sit and talk about having the best equipment for our gyms, the best equipment for our spas, the best product brands for our spas, any type of wellness offering we want to add, or any elements we want to enhance our wellness offering with. And in fact, the conversation about gyms, about spas, and any type of wellness offering you add is really quite a shallow conversation. It focuses on wellness at a very superficial level. It talks about the toolbox that encompasses wellness. Now, if you have been following me for a while now, you know that in my book, I make a distinction. For me, what is the difference between wellness, the toolbox? So those are our services, our treatments. That is our toolbox. And that toolbox can vary from wellness offering to wellness offering. And well-being is the ultimate goal, the ultimate destination. So when we're talking about spas, when we're talking about gyms, when we're talking about adding equipment or anything or any element to our wellness offering, we're essentially just talking about the tools, and tools can change with time. Tools can become irrelevant or obsolete, or new tools and more flashy toys can show up. However, the more meaningful and important conversation is what's going on below the waterline. What does the real foundation of value of wellness look like at the base of the iceberg? So immediately below the waterline is sometimes less tangible part of the conversation, which is about results. So from the perspective of creating wellness assets, the real results that matter are firstly proud people. And the question there is, how successful am I at attracting and retaining the best team? Secondly, transformative experiences. The question there is, how shareable are my guests' moments of truth? And thirdly, stellar performance. And the question there is, how commercially sustainable is my wellness offering, not just now, but long into the future? Now, let's just think about these three things. Think about what it would mean for you as a wellness leader, or what it would look like for you if you attracted and retained proud people whose value resonated with yours. If you consistently delivered truly unique, memorable, and shareable moments for each and every guest that set foot not only in the hotel, but also in your wellness offering and the F&B departments and in your rooms and in your conferences, while also having a commercially sustainable business. Now, what would that feel like and look like? So if we think about these three outcomes, proud people, transformative experiences, and stellar performance, they're critically important. They help you achieve that next level of well-being, the goals that I talked about earlier on. Yet, as important as they are, it isn't really about those three things, is it? In fact, it isn't really just about those three things. For me, I believe that bold leaders like you deserve to kind of enjoy this genuine, lasting impact. And that is something what we all ultimately want. And I found out when I was a leader that, of course, we want our wellness offerings to be a success. We want to be leaders of businesses that have fantastic wellness concepts, amazing and happy teams, stellar performance, guests that are just, raving about how amazing their experience is. We do want those, absolutely. But deep down, I have found, not only for me, but all these people I am interviewing and speak to, all these wellness leaders who've been very kind in sharing their perspectives, what we are all looking for is making that genuine, lasting impact. We chose this industry because it's just not any old job. This is what we love. And for many of us, it is more of a calling. There are very few businesses out there that can say that they transform people's lives. And when we do our business well, we actually do transform people's lives. So that is why I put myself to work on creating the essence model that I talk about in my book, The Wellness Asset. So it is a framework, a highly practical, logical, how-to framework that takes you through the process of achieving that genuine lasting impact by creating a profitable wellness asset and reaching the level of majesty at the bottom of the iceberg. And what I'd like to do next week is talk more about the essence model, the 7 key stages you need in order to make a wellness asset. So I just wanted to wrap up these last 3 sessions that I have been doing. The first one talking about, yes, we might feel that or think that our wellness offerings are probably the most neglected department in a hotel. But what I want to offer is that we actually have far more power than we think. When we actually think that we are a department that is not valued, we end up putting the cart, so to speak, before the horse. Now, we are the ones that actually move the future of the hotel industry. And if we recognized our power and what wellness means to hoteliers, then we would be in a very different situation. And once we recognize that we actually have far more power in our hands to make a far more genuine impact and a lasting impact, then we're able to look at our wellness offering in a very different way. And what I mentioned last week was that not all wellness offerings are automatically assets. We need to ensure that we have an asset from the get-go before we actually put any form of business strategy to the table or are working on any form of blueprint. And then today, what I wanted to highlight with this series is that let's look at the value iceberg. Let's not look at only the tip where we're only talking about what we add in terms of a wellness offering, that famous toolbox. We want to go and look a step further into the well-being goals. We want to hire proud people and also retain them. We want people to feel proud working with us and they know that they have a job in, forever, maybe not forever, but they know they have a stable job because it's something that they're passionate about. Your guests go happy instead of you having to comp a treatment because, there was the faulty facility, the sauna wasn't working. And you also want stellar performance. You want to be that department that is contributing both indirect, tangible, and intangible terms. But above all, as leaders, we all want to make a genuine, lasting impact. Otherwise, we would have chosen a very different profession. And next week, I would like to talk about how you can make that genuine, lasting impact. What is required in order to create that asset? So that's all for today. I hope you've enjoyed my banter and wishing you all a fantastic day ahead. Take care.